Andrew and I founded Gifford Bioscience in 2017 with a fairly simple ethos: to do the best science within the agreed timescale at a reasonable cost. Now, that sounds like corporate blurb, but we actually do try to make it happen.
Here at the BioHub, we have good access to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital and the University of Birmingham, and they've been quite generous in letting us use some of their resources.
Whatever the technique, we execute our clients' assays in the same stages. A principal investigator, Andrew or Kevin, is assigned to the project right at the start, right at the initial inquiry. And they then help the customer with the assay design or method validation. The same principal investigator stays with the project right through to the final report and a debrief with the client afterwards.
Radioligand binding assays are one of the core competencies of Gifford Bioscience Limited. This technique is quite useful for looking at binding of small molecule or peptide drugs to membrane-bound receptors. The kind of parameters you get from this are Bmax, Kd, Ki for competing compounds. We can also measure K on and K off in kinetic studies, and can measure allosteric actions to work out whether the drug is binding to a different site from the radioligand. The other kind of study we do a lot in the radiometric line is autoradiography. We're looking at binding of the radiolabeled ligands to a tissue section rather than in a tissue homogenate. Now, this technique is actually quite useful for ex vivo occupancy studies.
Surface plasmon resonance, or SPR, is a technique that is label-free, real-time, and it measures the kinetics of the interaction between biomolecules. SPR is a really good technique for comparing drug candidates. So if you have 2 or 3 different drug candidates with slightly different kinetic properties, you can compare their binding on rates and off rates, and therefore you might want to select the compound with the slower, longer off rate, because that will stay bound to your target for longer and therefore make a better inhibitor for you to take forward into the clinic.
Functional assays provide information on the consequences of ligands binding to receptors. We can measure second messenger levels by using fluorescence-based assays, and we can obtain EC50s, IC50s and Emacs. We can also characterise ligand receptor pharmacology by identifying full, partial, inverse agonists, as well as antagonists and allosteric modulators.
We're sent compounds from all over the world. Half of our business comes from the United States, another third from continental Europe. Our customers really seem to appreciate the expertise that we bring.